When Fort Sumter fell, we knew the war was coming, 'cause the Yankees vowed they'd never let us be. Up in Shenandoah, blood would soon be running, and it stained most every Southern family. Back in '61, the war had just begun. I heard the ghostly bugle calling me, and I'm mighty proud to say, oh, I wore the red and gray and marched down to Richmond town with General Lee. Up at Gettysburg, 400 cannons thunder, and a cloud of yellow smoke blocked out the sun. There 10,000 guns cut pickets, charged asunder, and the dead were stacked like wood when it was done. Back in '63, through the blood and the misery, we lived off chickpeas and hominy. But we're mighty proud to say, oh, we wore the red and gray and marched down to Richmond town with General Lee. I walked home barefooted when the war was over, with just a red bandana as a flag to wave. But I left behind my father and 2 brothers, and it sent my mother to an early grave. Back in '65, the poor boys who survived came home to find the Southland on its knees. But we're mighty proud to say, oh, we wore the red and gray and marched down to Richmond town with General Lee. I marched down to Richmond town with old Robert E. Lee.
My name's Janet Edwards, and I'm the great-great-granddaughter of Reason Robert Rooks. And I'm just going to read a brief history of his life. He was Reason Robert Rooks, also known as Reese. On September 29, 1844, in Monroe County, Georgia, Reason Robert Rooks was the first son born to John Rooks and his wife, Julia Ann Butner Wheeler. He was named after his mother's grandfather. He was the second child born in a family of 5 children, consisting of Julia Ann W., Lucretia, Nancy Ann, and Jacob. Reason's mother had been previously married to James Coburn Wheeler and had 3 children by him. Reason lived with his parents until the age of 16, when he decided to volunteer in the Army. On July 9, 1861, in Forsyth County, Georgia, Reason enlisted under Captain Etheridge as a private in the 14th Georgia Volunteer Infantry Company A. This group was also known as the Monroe County, Georgia Confederate Volunteers. His half-brother Pleasant Wheeler also joined up that same year, but in a different company. On August 29, 1862, Reason fought in the Second Battle of Manassas, Virginia. He also fought in the Battle of Sharpsburg on September 17th, and on December 13, 1862, he was shot and wounded in the knee at the Battle of Fredericksburg. He arrived by wagon from the battlefield on December 15th at the military hospital in Richmond, Virginia, where his wound was tended to. The last muster roll was dated February 28, 1865, where he was reported absent without leave. Upon Reason's return home during that same year, he learned of the death of his half-brother Pleasant Wheeler. He decides to marry Pleasant's widow, Mary Elizabeth Butner Wheeler, on December 31, 1865 in Jones County, Georgia. In the 1870 census for Putnam County, Georgia, it shows him living with Mary and her parents, Richard and Susan Butner. Mary Butner Wheeler died sometime between 1871 and 1879, and any particulars of her death are unknown to me. We next find record of Reason in Monroe County, Georgia, where he has married Martha Ida Joyner on October 12, 1879. Sometime shortly after they married, with his father John, now deceased, they decided to make the move to Marshall County, Alabama, where they had heard was the land of milk and honey, and you could grow anything. Making the move with them was Reason's mother, Julia Ann, his sister Nancy Ann, and her husband Zachary Taylor Maddox, and children, one of them a boy, Reason Maddox, named after Nancy Ann's big brother. Others make the move were Reason's sister Lucretia and her husband John Franklin Centers and their children, Reason's brother Jacob and his wife Dorothy and their children. The move also included Martha Ida and Dorothy's sister Sarah Catherine and her husband John Todd and their children. Parents of Martha Ida, Dorothy, and Sarah Catherine were Ben and Elizabeth Joyner. Ben and Elizabeth, along with their other children, also made the move to Marshall County. Ben and Elizabeth are buried here near Reason and Martha Ida in the Rooks family cemetery. In 1882, Reason and Martha Ida started their family. Their children include Claudia, Ulysses, Sidney, Marybelle, Ola May, Ella Francis, which is my great-grandmother, Franklin Howard, and Oliver Dewey. They had a ninth child that died, and I have no record of its name or gender. In the summer of 1894, Reason became very ill with a fever due to his persistent leg pain, and Dr. Jackson from Gunnersville, Alabama, came to amputate it on September 27th of that year. In the January 24, 1896 edition of the Sand Mountain Signal newspaper, it's announced that Reason Rooks will be running for tax assessor in Marshall County. The elections were held on March 27, 1896, and on May 23rd, the results were published. There were 5 opponents, with Reason coming in second, losing the election by a mere 10 votes, 723 to 713. On July 1st, 1902, Martha Ida Joyner dies, and Reason is left alone with children at home to raise. He then decides to marry Rose Ella Willoughby on July 31st, 1903, and has 4 children during their marriage together. These children were Robert R., Julie Elizabeth, William Watson, and Margaret Francis. Reason died on November 11th, 1911, leaving a huge family of descendants, some that stand here today to remember a life well lived.